Go ahead, Charles.
Hey, Darth, just had a quick question. So you mentioned that the special revelation in nature is something that reveals God. But my question is,
No,
how
no,
would
no.
that?
That's not what I say. That's not my
Oh, I'm
position.
sorry.
Okay. We differentiate different types of God's revelation. We have natural or general revelation, which is through creation. And then there is what we call special revelation, things that God has made us to know directly or indirectly, not through general revelation, but through history. Okay. So, for example, when God spoke to Adam, Adam did not know not to eat the tree of the knowledge of good and evil until God told him. There are certain things that God had to tell Noah and Moses and through the prophets and finally through Jesus Christ that God did not make us to know otherwise through natural or general revelation. Okay?
Okay, yeah. So sorry, let me rephrase. So
That's
would
okay.
an example of general revelation be like you mentioned before? I've heard some of your videos where you mentioned like seeing an apple on the counter and having the concept of like the apple being something intelligible to us, like identity through time. Um, my
Yeah,
question is,
everything that God has made that we come into contact with mentally is a revelation of God. So when you look at the moon, you're looking at a creative act and a revelatory act of God because God purposed that it be revelatory.
right, exactly. So my question was, I guess, because there was a speaker that asked if, or why nature couldn't do that, like an impersonal ultimate nature. So my question is, how would you distinguish if nature was making the moon intelligible to you, and that was just how it
You
was
couldn't.
ultimately?
You couldn't.
You couldn't, right? So how is that
No.
proof of general?
Well, first of all, what concretely would you refer to that is being revelatory? What would that be?
Well, essentially, it would just be whatever is ultimate.
Okay, and how would you even know that there is something singularly ultimate?
Well, I would start by assuming that the laws of logic were correct.
No, 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 no. Okay, the laws of logic are universal abstractions that all discrete states of affairs conform to these three principles: the law of identity, law of non-contradiction, law of excluded middle. The
And they
laws
come
of
from what's ultimate,
the
right?
okay, you and I might agree that the laws of logic are derived from what is ultimate, but invoking the laws of logic does not mean that what is ultimate is revelatory.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. So my question is, when I'm trying to figure out what's ultimate, how do I distinguish from a general revelation from a God versus if I assume it's an all-powerful nature? I
Okay,
guess that's
first,
that
all right,
part
look,
never occurred to me.
you're either going to have to decide that all the facts that you're acquainted with are indicative of God by his purpose or not. Okay, from the get go, as soon as you reach a certain level of neurological development, you're going to decide either everything is indicative of God, necessarily indicative of God, and that would only be if he purposed it, or not. And therefore, what you will conclude, if you don't conclude that, is to believe that all the so-called facts that you're acquainted with simply are standalone without reference to the necessity and revelatory purposes of God. There's only
So
two. There's only two. Look, I'm looking out my window right now at my neighbor's automobile. I'm looking at the grass. Okay, I'm looking at some bushes. I'm looking at the blue sky. Each one of these things, whether or not they're reformulated by the mind of men, right?
right.
Either they will be in one of two categories. Either they will be indicative of God because he purposed that they are, or not.
Oh, I agree with you. But the question for me is I'm trying to figure out which one it is, right? Because I believe what you're saying that there needs to be an ultimate. but as far as I can tell, the only property it needs is ultimateness. And
There's
when I'm
no,
trying to,
okay, here's the problem. There is no ultimate to speak of unless that which is ultimate reveals itself.
yeah, that's my question, I guess. So how do I know that nature is revealing? When I look outside my window and I see, like right now, I see a tree.
Nature, sir, nature is an abstraction. And by that, I don't mean that it is fiction. Nature is an abstraction. It is quantifying something which is actually a plurality of things. Okay?
Well, I guess I should say the ultimate way in which
Can you
the
show
world.
me can you show me nature? Where's nature?
Well, I can't see God either, so I, I
No,
don't,
well,
I don't
sir,
know.
no, I'm trying, but you see, God is not. God is invoked as something that is concrete, whether you can see him with your eyes or not. Nature is an abstraction, okay, which is referring to two or more concrete particulars, right?
Uh,
So, for example, the word universe. The word universe is an abstraction, okay? Or let's use the word reality instead. Would that be better for you? We'll say reality.
yeah, because truth is what
Reality.
comports with
Okay.
reality.
Okay. Well, reality is reality something that is concretely one, or is reality a set of concrete particulars?
I think reality is just the term to define everything that's true.
Okay, you're not answering my question. Is reality a concrete one thing? It's just one thing, or does reality refer to an abstract set, a collection of a plurality, two or more concrete particulars?
I guess I didn't define it as either. I because I would define
Well,
universe
well, then, then,
universe
then,
that way.
then reality refers to nothing. Then, my friend.
Well, reality refers to everything that's true.
Okay, then reality is the abstract set of all concrete, real particulars, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, when you say reality, you're not referring to something that's concretely one thing. You're referring to a plurality of things.
Sure.
And
Can
these
accept that.
individual things, whatever they may be at their lowest level, we'll call them particulars, all right? So when you refer to reality or nature, right, all you're simply referring to is an abstract set attempting to communicate a set
I'm
of
sorry. That isn't what I
particulars.
mean by what I mean by nature. Maybe I'm using an idiosyncratic way. What I mean by nature is just the ultimate way in which the world is. I guess like
Okay,
the
so
nature.
so so how do unconnected and unrelated particulars, all of them individually or collectively, communicate to you?
I
How's
I
that
don't
how's that happen?
I don't know. I just the laws of logic seem to be true, and I can make
No,
testable
no, no,
predictions
no,
with
no,
them.
no. You're now mixing apples and oranges. Okay, what we're talking about, what is ultimate? Okay,
Uh huh.
now some people will reject the notion that God is that which is singularly ultimate, and they'll choose one of two options. They'll just say, well, it's not God, it's something else. Something else is ultimate, but not God. Or they will be utterly idiotic and say, well, I don't accept that anything's ultimate.
Yeah, I
Which is
accept that
which
there's something ultimate.
Okay, but here's the thing is, now, on what basis do you invoke the ultimate? Has the ultimate revealed itself?
I don't know.
Okay,
That's the
so
honest
that
truth.
so
Yeah.
so so if you don't know, then there's no ultimate to invoke.
Well, I believe that there's an ultimate because the laws of logic seem to be true, and
No,
I can
okay.
make testable
Why?
predictions with them.
Listen to me. Why do you keep on going back to an appeal to laws of logic? Because that's not going to help you. The laws of logic do not stand in causal relations.
But aren't you using the laws of logic when you say we need to
Okay,
have the ultimate?
listen to me one more time. Do the laws of logic stand in causal relations?
Could Could you clarify that question for me?
Does the law of non-contradiction cause anything?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so you need to stop referring to the laws of logic as though they were causative.
Wait, I don't. Correct. You asked why I
And
think
by
that
the
there
way, hold
needs
on
to
a
be
second.
ultimate. Uh huh.
By the way, you and I are not agreeing, but what I do like to do every time when I have somebody like you who is being mature and cordial and thoughtful, I like to point that out.
Thank you.
Because I don't usually have this opportunity because I deal with a lot of scumbags.
Yeah.
And you and I, and look, you and I are not agreeing, but you're being mature about it, and I want to point that out.
Yeah, I
Okay?
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So essentially, I agreed with your analysis that there must be something ultimate. But for me, I was just trying to get to the bottom of how I would know if it's, an ultimate, all powerful, like pantheism,
Okay. All right.
God,
So
nature,
okay.
Christian God, etc.
So what would be ultimate is something that it would be absolute within itself. In other words, it would not begin to exist, and it would not derive or depend upon anything extraneous to itself. Okay?
Right.
Now, the ultimate, therefore, will be what we call the concrete universal, right? It's concrete in that it's not an abstraction collectivizing or taking a group of particulars into a mental set. So the ultimate is going to be defined or categorized as being one concrete thing.
Could I ask you to unpack that word concrete for me? Do you mean
Yeah.
that it's something that
It's
is
not
like an
it's not it's
actual
it's
one
not
thing?
an abstraction.
Right. So would
Okay.
you say it's something that like corresponds in reality?
Okay. If I said to you, okay, suppose I have a set of marbles, right?
Uh,
And I refer to the set of marbles as jablublu, right? The unification of all the concrete particulars, the marbles, the unification does not exist concretely out there in the world. The unification of each discrete and separate marble takes place in my mind. Okay?
um,
So the set is an abstraction. Unless, of course, there is something that concretely outside of my mind unifies each of the particulars. If the particulars are only unified by my mind as in my thoughts, then it's an abstraction. It doesn't mean that the set of all the particulars don't exist, like one marble, two marble, three marble. But what we're saying is the unification is not concrete. The unification is abstract, even though each individual marble exists. So the ultimate, by definition, will be a concrete universal. In other words, everything that exists that is not the ultimate derives and depends upon the ultimate. So the ultimate it'll be concrete, and it will be the universal.
okay. So then let me ask it instead of saying nature, what stops it, I guess, when I look outside and I see an apple or a tree, it from being a concrete, ultimate,
No, because
impersonal
all
object?
all you're going to have is a radical plurality, that there is a
No, no, no. That's
mass.
not what I asked. I said a
Okay.
concrete, ultimate object, a singular thing. It's
Okay.
concrete and it's
What is
ultimate.
it? What is it?
I don't know.
Well, then how do you invoke it's there?
Well, I know you didn't like this answer, but I use the laws of logic and
Again,
identity over
but
time
you
and things
see,
like that.
well, dog. Hey, listen, dogs go back to their vomit and say, "Wow, a hot meal." Okay.
Right. Not that
The
we can't
laws
be
of
wrong, but
logic. Look. The laws of logic function. I'll use that term in quotation marks. They're universal invariant abstraction that for each particular, it is what it is in a given time index, and it cannot be what it is not. Okay. But the laws of logic themselves don't, how shall I put this? It's not, the laws of logic is not a concrete universal.
Right. No, I agree. But I'm saying, in terms of determining if it's something with a mind, like the Christian God or a
Look,
generic
how
God,
does
or
look? I want you to imagine that the only thing that exists are 100 marbles, right?
well, if there was one
Hold
marble, the one
hold on,
marble would be what's
hold on,
ultimate.
hold on a second. Hold on. I want you to imagine that there's just 100 marbles, right? Nothing else exists, right?
Yeah.
Now, now, when it comes to the laws of logic, we would say that for each marble, it is what it is in a given time index. Okay,
You're right.
but each individual marble, because it is what it is, doesn't dictate what any other marble is or does. So each individual marble isn't a universal. Nor can you appeal to the set as being a universal, because if you do, it'll just simply be an abstraction. It's not something that's concrete. The set takes place in your mind in the thought experiment.
Right. That's why I asked if
Either
there
the
was
ultimate,
one thing that was
either
ultimate.
in order for there to be an ultimate, the ultimate has to be concrete, not abstract.
Right. So my question is, how do I know that it's not one ultimate concrete non-mind versus a mind?
You couldn't.
Right. So then agnosticism would make sense then from that
No,
perspective, right?
no, no. Because agnosticism is the claim to suspend judgment about the ultimate. But you
Right.
haven't
And you just
suspended.
said I couldn't know.
Can I finish? Okay.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
Agnosticism is the claim to suspend judgment about ultimate reality, that either God exists as creator or God does not exist as creator. But it turns out, upon careful examination, is that agnostics indeed do not suspend judgment, and in fact, they've decided that facts can and will be invoked as stand-alone without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God. So, in spite of the claim to neutrality, the agnostic is actually hostile toward God. Okay?
So just to be clear though, earlier you said that it could be something that's ultimate, singular, concrete, and not a mind, or it could have a mind. And agnostics claim to not know whether God, who is defined as
The
ultimate with
agnostic,
a mind. Can I finish, please?
I just want to
Where,
say the agnostic claim is a false claim.
well, hold on, because I think you're in a contradiction there.
What's my contradiction?
Because you just said to me earlier, because I asked you, how could I know if what's ultimate is a concrete, singular, universal that's not a mind, or is one that is a mind? And you said you couldn't. And I said, awesome. Then
No, I said
agnosticism,
you
hold
could.
on, hold on.
No, 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 no. I said you could not invoke and defend that there's an ultimate unless the ultimate is a mind and that mind has the sufficient characteristics to reveal itself.
Well, that brings me back to my question then. So when I look outside and I see a tree, how do I know that it's not an ultimate singular thing that gave me identity over time, understanding laws of logic, etc., or something that is a mind? How can I know which one it is?
Did the tree begin to exist?
At some point, yeah.
Okay, then it's not ultimate.
Right. No, no, not the tree. So what I'm saying is whatever is ultimate, because I accept that the property ultimate is necessary, could have come from the mind, or sorry, something that is ultimate, singular, concrete, and a mind, or
Okay,
something that is ultimate,
all right.
singular, concrete,
It's
and not
really
a mind.
simple. The only way that you can come to know and rationally believe that there's an ultimate is if and only if the ultimate is a mind, it is an agent, and it has the characteristics, the attributes by which it can instantiate you knowing that it is.
And how do we know that the ultimate non-mind can't just do that by definition, by how it is?
Okay, but because you see, there's no non-mind ultimate to invoke.
There might be.
Okay, see, this is not coherent. Okay, when you say it might be, because you see, everything that you say that comes out of your mouth implicitly is either going to have to reference the ultimate or not. Now, if you said that there might be, what is, either something is ultimate or it's not.
Right.
The ultimate, the state of ultimacy is not something that is subject to contingency. Like if I said to you right now, well, you know what? There could be a deer in my backyard. Did you know that I had deer in my backyard the other day? So you know what? There could be a deer in my backyard. There might not be. On the other hand, there might be a deer in my backyard.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, if I said to you, well, you know what? There could be a sun that is larger than our solar system in my backyard. You would say, well, no, that cannot be. Okay. The point is this: when it comes to the ultimate existing, right, either as a mind or not as mind, you saying there, well, it could be on what you're going to have to stake out your claims. And right now, because you refuse to acknowledge that the ultimate is a mind that has revealed itself, purposed for you to know it through creation, then what you're going to be left with is a world that is shrouded in mystery. There is no ultimate for you to speak of.
Well, hold on. I think you jumped the gun there a little bit. So there may still be an ultimate that is not a mind.
How do you know
I haven't
that?
heard an argument that it's not a mind.
No, it's not a matter that it may, because it's not subject to contingency.
Well,
You're
is
either
it logically possible?
listen to me. The issue, its existence, doesn't depend upon being logical. It doesn't depend upon it being logical. It either exists or it doesn't exist.
Well, did your mind come from something that
Listen,
wasn't a mind initially?
you're totally sidestepping this. Okay, if you're going to invoke that there's an ultimate, hold on one second.
No problem.
Okay, um, your words are either going to presuppose the ultimate or not.
Right.
Because you see, if you said, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, then the facts that come out of your mouth, the propositions that you invoke, do not reside in any model of reality.
Well, would it be the case that something has to be true, right? Because if nothing was true, then
Okay.
that would be true. So you can start with
Look,
something is true.
I am looking at a paperback book on my nightstand right now.
Right.
Okay. Now, that paperback book will either be designated as ultimate, it's self-contained, it's absolute within itself, and everything else derives and depends upon it, or not. If not, then the paperback book is derived from that which is ultimate. Okay.
Well,
So
hold on. You didn't.
let me
Sorry.
finish.
Go ahead.
Okay. If you claim that you're undecided as to whether or not there's an ultimate, then you destroy your ability to open up your mouth and speak intelligibly.
So I didn't claim to be undecided about whether or not there was an
Is
ultimate.
there an ultimate?
Yes.
Okay. What is it, and how do you know about it?
I don't know what it is. I just know that it's ultimate
Wait a minute. How do you know that?
because there needs to be something ultimate to have
How do you
intelligibility.
know how do you know that? Well, how do you know that the intelligibility you have is
So
simply
what I just said earlier.
you're not understanding. Okay, I agree with you that intelligibility requires ultimacy, right?
So
But the
would
point, but you see, there's nothing that has revealed itself. So you might believe in it. Look, do you know that there are some times when people speak, what they are saying is convoluted and not coherent, but they're not aware that it's incoherent. Would you agree with that?
absolutely.
Okay. So the bottom line is this, is that you're claiming to speak coherently and intelligibly. But it's only intelligible if and only if the ultimate
I agree
exists. Good. So how do you know that there's an ultimate?
because we can speak intelligibly.
You see, you're like a dog goes back to its vomit. You're doing this again.
So what I mentioned to you earlier was that
You're not
if
getting this, are you?
I
Okay.
go ahead.
Intelligibility. Does does intelligibility require the ultimate?
Yes.
Okay. You're invoking that we have intelligibility. So implicitly, you are asserting that the ultimate exists. Well, on what basis does the ultimate exist?
The same argument you gave that we need the
No,
ultimate
the
because we're
argument I
speaking
gave.
intelligibly.
No, sir. You're not getting this. You see, this is the problem I have with people. It's not you're not being devious here. You're just not comprehending the scenario. Okay?
Go ahead.
If I invoke the regularity of nature, okay? The regularity of nature presupposes the causal principle, right?
Right.
Now, if I say to you, um, on what grounds do you establish the the causal principle? We say, well, because there's a uniformity of nature, but that begs the question.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the point is this: intelligibility already presupposes transcendentally for its existence that there's an ultimate.
Yeah, I am presupposing that.
Great, good. So how do you know there's an ultimate? And if you repeat because
Okay,
there's
so I would just
intelligibility,
say
again, you're going to scream.
I'm presupposing it.
Okay, is there a basis? Is there a conduit metaphysically for you to know that the ultimate exists?
I think our axioms are fundamentally
No,
circular
no,
and
sir,
bottom
sir,
just
sir. You need to focus on the question. I appreciate the answer, but it's not an answer. Notice I used the word conduit.
okay.
Do you
Say
know
it
what
again.
do you know what a conduit is?
Something that's a vehicle for something else.
That's right. Is there a channel by which we can know that the ultimate exists?
Um, Potentially.
What is the conduit by which we can know?
I employ my logic and reason.
Here we go again. Okay, back to the dog with its vomit. Okay,
Well, aren't you
there.
using logic and reason to
Okay,
determine that
okay, yeah,
God
but
is
you see,
necessary?
I'm not operating from your worldview, sir.
No, I agree. But you're
Okay,
using it because otherwise, God, you could just say God
that's
may or
not
may
the
not be.
issue. The issue. We're not disputing that there's logic and reason, and we're not disputing there's intelligibility.
Well, you said
What?
God reveals
Can
it
I
to you.
finish, please?
Yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
okay, thank you. I'm not disputing with you the actuality of intelligibility or laws of logic. What I'm saying is there's only one worldview that can provide for its actuality. And you reject categorically that it is the God world, the God of Christian theism. So I want to know how you instantiate the ultimate for these states of affairs that you say is intelligible. I'm not disputing that intelligibility exists. I'm trying to get you to explain to me, how does intelligibility exist within your worldview?
And you're getting me to do that because you presuppose that the laws of logic are true and that I would need to do that,
No,
right?
sir.
Because otherwise,
You
why would it
you
matter if
reject
God revealed it?
you reject God as the ultimate.
I
But
don't
you
reject God. I am
okay,
suspending judgment.
okay. We have to go over that again. You're not suspending judgment. You're claiming you are. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. When you invoke the price of gasoline, does it by necessity reference your favorite flavor of ice cream?
No,
Okay. When you invoke the weather outside, does it by necessity reference whether there's a tiny little piece of earwax in your ear canal?
no.
Okay. When you invoke facts,
Hey, Darth, I got to take off in like 2 minutes, by the way.
Okay. All right.
I
Listen.
was enjoying this though. I'd like to come back
No,
for sure. Just gonna,
listen. You and I are not agreeing, but there was nothing unenjoyable about it because I think that you, in spite of me disagreeing with you, you are operating at a much higher level than your average unbeliever, and I
I
can
appreciate it.
respect I can respect that because it's rare. Okay.